What's up everyone, welcome back. Today I'm showing you how to make probably the best Mexican style steak tacos you've ever had. And it's made with this wonderful Mexican salsa, also known as Salsa Borracha or Drunken Sauce. If you're new here, welcome to Mexican Cooking Academy, where we celebrate Mexican food, culture, and cuisine. For years, I've been obsessed with Mexican food culture. And in September 2020, I decided to make that move from California down to Mexico to pursue that passion and share it with the rest of the world. And that's exactly what I'm doing today with you guys. I'm showing you how to make these wonderful Mexican steak tacos with the Salsa Borracha. Now, I picked up this recipe from a chef here in my cooking school in Monterey. It was a wonderful, wonderful recipe, one of my favorite things we made, and I wanted to share that with all of you guys. Now for this recipe, of course, you're going to need some good steak. I got 2 cuts of Angus beef here. You're going to need all the ingredients for the salsa, which are chilies, onion, garlic, some cumin, and of course, a bottle of beer. As always, you'll find this recipe down in the description below. And while you're there, hit that like button and hit the subscribe button. It's really gonna help me out. And if you love Mexican food as much as I do, let me know down in the description what are your favorite meals. And if you've been to Mexico, and where have you been, and what have you done, and what do you love about this wonderful country? I'd love to hear from you. Now this recipe has 2 parts to it. There's a meat portion and there's a salsa portion. And that's pretty typical in a lot of Mexican recipes. So we're gonna go through it step by step. The sauce portion, or this beer sauce portion, actually has a companion video that goes along with this one. I'll leave it down in the description, but we'll do an abbreviated version of that salsa recipe in this video, just so you don't have to go there. But if you are making this recipe, then I encourage you to check out that video, look at it in detail, so you have a better understanding of how exactly to make this salsa, so you don't miss any steps. Now, the first part here is the meat, and it goes without saying, but you gotta choose a really good quality meat, because a good sauce is not going to cover up a really bad cut of meat. So make sure you're choosing a very good cut of meat, whether that's stewing beef, if you wanna use that for your tacos, or steak like what I'm doing here. But always start out with the best quality ingredients that you can afford. Now in this recipe, I ended up using 3 Angus steaks. Here I have only 2 in the photo, but I ended up adding 3 by the end of it. And I salted these steaks very generously about 2 hours prior to cooking them, to allow the salt time to penetrate and salt the meat from the inside, because you're not gonna be able to salt it later once you add it to the salsa. So make sure that these are salted an hour or 2 prior to you cooking them, and allow them to come to the room temperature with that salt, and that's gonna really help out. Unfortunately, I live in a high-rise here in Mexico, so I don't have a grill that I can use, so I'm using a standard stainless steel pan. It works really wonderful. In this case, obviously I'd prefer if I had a grill, but you make do what you got. So here what we're gonna do is heat up the pan really hot, add in our steak. I got some sesame seed oil in here to prevent the steak from sticking. Once it's very hot, add in the steak. It shouldn't stick at all. Give it about 30 to 60 seconds on each side. Flip it over, make sure it's gotten some brownie action. Once you flip it over, take its temperature. You may want to make sure you don't go over 125 degrees Fahrenheit. That's gonna give you a medium rare steak. If you keep it a little bit down below, once you add it to the hot salsa later on, that's also gonna raise its temperature a little bit further, so it's gonna help cook it a little bit more. But we're shooting for a medium rare steak here. Now, there's no law that says you can't cook your steak above 125 degrees. Some very successful people like Donald Trump eat their steak well done. If you're one of those people, please unsubscribe from my channel. There's a button down below to do that, and find a different channel that makes their steaks well done. In this channel, we do our steaks medium rare or rare, which is the proper way God intended men to eat steaks. So once your wonderful steak has reached 125 degrees or so, we're gonna pull it off the heat, leave it off to the side to let it cool down and let the juices redistribute throughout the meat. In the meantime, we're gonna get going on our salsa, and that's our second step here. You technically could use this sauce as a marinade to marinate the meat in it prior to grilling it, for example, but because it's a little bit of work and because it's such a wonderful sauce, I think it'd be really a waste to ended up wasting it essentially, because the marinade, once it's in contact with raw meat, you're not gonna necessarily eat it. So you could use it as a marinade. I think it'd be a wonderful marinade because it already tastes amazing once it's a finished product. But if you can, make an extra batch, maybe use half for a marinade and then use the other half as a sauce later on to top your meat with. That would be another good option. Now for your sauce, start with 3 to 4 dried chilies. You can use any combination of chilies. Here I have a guajillo and a morita chili. And we're gonna take off the stems from these, open them up like a butterfly, take out all the seeds and remove the veins that run through these chilies. With the chilies cleaned up, it's time to roast them. We're gonna put them in a very, very hot pan or a skillet. You can use a comal, which is a traditional Mexican way to roast these chilies, but it's absolutely not necessary at all. You can use a non-stick pan. What is important is that you have a flat spatula. You're gonna press on firmly against that chili to make sure each part of the chili makes contact with the hot surface. And that's gonna help it roast, and it's gonna help develop a lot of wonderful flavor. And you'll know that the chilies are cooked when they change color and they begin to blister and they start to smoke ever so slightly. And that's gonna be a good point to take them out. We're gonna add those chilies to very, very hot water that was just boiled, but we do not boil the chilies themselves. So we're gonna add them to the hot water and we're gonna let them soak for a minimum of 10 minutes, up to 20, 30 minutes until you're ready to use those chilies. Meanwhile, we wanna sweat our vegetables. In this case, we're using tomatoes and onion and some garlic. You can use a non-stick pan. If you're doing this on a grill, you can do it on a grill. We're toasting them and sweating them until they develop a lot of char and flavor. We do this pretty frequently in our cooking class, as you can see here. Folks are always toasting and charring the vegetables. It's helping really release a lot of the flavors into the fruits, into the veggies, and then later on when we blend them, which is what we're about to do, you're gonna get those wonderful flavors in that liquid. With all the vegetables toasted, it's time to blend them. So we're gonna add in our chilies, we're gonna add all the veggies, we're gonna blend everything until it's perfectly smooth and it's ready to go. We take that smooth mass of blended salsa, throw it into a pan, and we're gonna bring that to a very rapid boil. And we're gonna boil until it starts to change color ever so slightly. At that point, we're gonna add in a full bottle of beer here. Any beer will do. I'm using this lager here, which is a wonderful lager. And we're gonna cook that beer until it's completely evaporated. Once it's evaporated, we're gonna add in our cumin, we're gonna add in salt and pepper and taste everything to make sure it tastes good. It should taste really wonderful at this point. Once it's tastes the way you like it to taste in terms of salt and pepper, then we're gonna throw in our steak. So chop up your steak, throw everything into the pan here, stir everything to combine, and add in a little cilantro at this point, and you're ready to go. And since your steak is cooked and your vegetables are also cooked, there's really no need to reduce anything anymore or cook it any further. You don't have to add the steak into the salsa there. You could leave the steak off to the side and put the sauce on top of the taco. You could serve this meat as a side dish, for example, like what I'm doing here. Just have some meat on the side, sprinkle it with extra cilantro. You can have fresh tortillas on the side of this, or you can use that to make tacos. And they're, again, the most amazing tacos you've ever had, probably. Some wonderful steak, put the salsa on top of that, add some cilantro, add some cheese, and you're ready to roll. So that's the whole recipe from start to finish. And I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, hit the thumbs up button and also sign up for my newsletter at MexicanCookingAcademy.com. Really appreciate that. And that's all I got for you today. Until next time, live long and prosper.